All right, ladies and gentlemen, I was just watching Dave Levine. Why is he always busting my cojones? I don't know. But let's get back to the Delphi case. It is exploding all over again. Why? Because there's been no new information released, and everyone's waiting for the court date. So, a lot of new people coming into the case, a lot of new YouTubers coming into the case, and it's going crazy. It's blowing up. Now, folks, I changed the title to this video because I really didn't want the madness to continue in the Delphi case. What are we seeing? Right? What are we seeing? This documentation, the Odin files, what are we actually seeing? A skit out of someone's mind, right? That's what it's going. Elvis, right? Johnny, Brad, all these people and everything. Sad to say, Elvis has passed. Uh, and I know a lot of people are shocked. They're like, are you kidding me? This is like a script, like the way they wrote this. It's not detailed. It's lacking stuff. What is it, right? Where did this come from? I think this was a story that one of these YouTubers that were probably involved somehow or questioned somehow gave a fake story to the police or FBI or whatever, and they checked into it. The FBI did conclude, or the police did conclude that this Odinism, worshiping or whatever, is a real thing, but they were not affiliated with the murders. That they don't believe that it had any affiliation with the Odin Wilderness Organization or whatever they're called or whatever. But here's the thing: we don't know if this report is even real. That's the whole thing. Or if only little bits and pieces. Some might be real, some might be fake. So a lot of people are going crazy. I don't blame them. Some of these people are new to the case, and you really can't tell them that we've been watching this case for 7 years. And we heard about this story in the beginning of the case, but it was pushed aside because, like I said before in the other videos, I think the police and the FBI, they did investigate it, and they came to the same thing, that this was food bar, right? It is a real thing. It is a real religion. It's ancient, mythic, fable, Viking tales that people worship today. But they don't sacrifice children. They do sacrifice things. They use water as blood or whatever. And it does make sense. Here they worship trees, wilderness, and everything. They don't like to chop trees down and do things like that. But yet they would have had to cut the branches to put the branches on top of the girls, which is defeating their whole worshipism, right? If you worship the wilderness. Hello, Debbie. Boy, I'm getting my cojones busted everywhere tonight. Boy, the whole world is very upset at me tonight. Well, the truth will upset some people. And no, I'm not the dude inside the I call it a script, is what all these people are watching or reading, right? Something out of someone's mind that someone else either tried to steal or tried to tell the authorities was going on. And the authorities investigated it, and it was nothing. That's why we didn't hear too much of it. We did hear a little bit about this in the beginning of the case, but it was by YouTubers. And at that point in time of the case, nobody really knew how the girls died. That information was not released, but it was somehow these YouTubers knew about that when the authorities even said they did not release that. So, folks, I can tell you this much. You do have, I was in a YouTube chat the other night and they're like, I think we got killers among us. And I was like, you do. And there's probably a couple YouTubers that were involved. And they did catch a killer that was inside of a chat, that was inside of a ladies' chat in one of these crime cases, I don't know, about a month ago, from another country. He was from another country and in this woman's chat for a long time. Everyone liked the guy until the real information came out that he was actually a killer. He was out on bail. And they do have proof that they're saying they're going to convict him or something. So a lot of people are shocked. And like I said, in the Delphi case, this information was leaked years and years ago by YouTuber, and like the police and the authorities said, only the people that were there or knew about the crime and how the girls were found. There had to be a leak, whether it be the someone that found them or whether it was within the family or whatever. Um, it was leaked because the only the killers would have known about the sticks. Only the people that were there or knew about that case would have known about the sticks and the way they were placed and the carving. There was talk about this, but it was way gorier. It was way worse uh, years ago when a couple of these YouTubers were claiming they knew exactly what happened that night and who it was, and then it turned into where I think it backfired on them, right? Because only the killers and the police would have known, or family, or the search team. Thus far, there was a leak, and that's probably why the police went after a lot of these people because they leaked it, or they were questioned because at that time that this information came out, it was hush hush. It was a no talking about the case um, because they wanted to find who knew about it, and I think then a couple of these YouTubers knew about it and were questioned in the case. Now, whether they're lying or acting or whatever it is, they're bad actors, they're bad liars or whatever. But I can see a lot of people going crazy. A lot of new people coming into this case, and then there's people in their chats giving info from years ago about this case, and it's all true, right? This information was leaked years and years ago. This information was leaked about the time SH and AG came into this case with the YouTube thing. So this information was heard, but was not believed because the government found out that it was not this Odin, that these idiots. Somebody tried to blame the Odins. So I think that's why we didn't hear too much of it. Plus, there was a sheriff election going on, and supposedly there was a battle within the sheriff's department uh, for who was going to run. And then Anthony Greeno was going to run for sheriff, supposedly. Uh, so you're going to find out a lot of things about the Delphi case, and it's going to shock you people. And you're going to find out that it all leads back to somebody that they were looking at in the beginning. Shocking, yes. And all along they were right among us. They were right among us, just like Sheriff Carter said. They're among us. We're watching them every day on social media, and we believe they're watching us. And Sheriff Carter, God dang it, if he wasn't right, there was people on social media involved. And there was a YouTuber or a couple of YouTubers that they're saying now that was involved and charged with crimes. And all along they were right among us. And I think they were hiding. Some of these YouTubers were hiding the truth. This gang, this club, this YouTube gang club that these guys were talking about, whatever it is. I can tell you this much, folks. If it was the Odins, they're the most stupidest organization I've ever seen that would do something this crazy, but yet point the finger directly at them. Does that make sense to anybody? The girls were dropped off at 1:45, between 1:45 and 2:30 in the afternoon on the trail. They were supposed to be picked up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 5:30. They did not show up. By 7 o'clock at night, there was a search team of family members and friends that were already out there searching that area. They made a call to the police, which police came out and started searching. More calls went out to other people to come and help find Abby and Libby. That search went on until late at night, and nobody found anything out there. The girls were found the next day at 10 o'clock in the early afternoon. That would mean this gentleman had to work fast between 1:45 and 5:30. Could he have done all this in 2.5 hours, 3 hours? By 7 o'clock, I believe there was search teams already out there. Actually, by 6 o'clock, people were already out there searching. I believe one of the girl's sisters that dropped them off, that they were supposed to get picked up by the father, the grandfather, who went to go pick them up and could not. They did not show up. So he started searching for them out. And that's where people started to say that Mike Patty was Bridge Guy. So you folks coming into this case, yes, Mike Patty was a suspect. The girl's grandparents or whatever. And a lot of people said that was Mike Patty walking down the bridge. So whoever did this had a certain time that it had to be done. For one, I'm shocked they didn't find the bodies when it was that soon that they started looking for the bodies. But who knows? Maybe they did sacrifice these girls so they could be famous. There's a lot of that going on right now within the movie, music, gangs, mainly gangs, whatever. Is it possible someone did this to become famous or whatever? I don't know. But there are a lot of YouTubers that are saying that they think maybe this was a blood in, blood out, meaning you had to do this to become one of them. Which I don't know what kind of organization you folks would want to belong to, but if you're killing little girls, you people are really sick people. And then turn around and claim it's your religion. I'd say that's why we have such a problem in America. But we knew about this information 2 years into the case, 2 or 3 years into the case. See, there was, I think, 4 years into this case. After 4 years is when we started hearing about the way the girls were killed. Before then, we did not know nothing, and they didn't release nothing. There was rumors, and them rumors were going around by some of the YouTubers that were saying that the girls were killed with sticks, but everyone was saying, "How did you find that out?" when it hasn't been released. And the police were saying the only people that would have known the way the girls were killed were people that were there in the police, maybe a family member or something. So explain all that. How did these people know? Leaks. They leaked it. And that's probably why the police went after a couple of these YouTubers for fake information because they were releasing that it was some kind of a cult, uh, a sacrifice. Sticks were involved and they were penetrated in private parts and all cut up and ritual carvings in the body and that fingers were cut off. And there were so many rumors in this case, but some of them rumors that these people were saying was true. How did they find that out? I think that's why the police were so upset because I think the police changed up. I think that's when Sheriff Carter said, "You didn't think we'd change up our tactics." And I think that's when Sheriff Carter and the police knew that they had somebody that shouldn't either been saying that or somebody that knew just a little bit too much about that case at that time. And that's probably why they went after some of these people. And what is shocking to me out of this is people forget that Anthony or Keegan Klein was picked up 12 days after this murder. And they had all this documentation, all this data and phones. And I noticed that after the 12 days, uh, it wasn't but a year or so before they started picking up people and questioning people. Now, was that because they had Keegan Klein's data from his phone? Was that because they had Brian Chadwell and his data and phone that they started picking up the rest of these guys? I don't know. These guys were on camera on YouTube talking about they belong to some. I know Chadwell was on social media talking about some club he belonged to, or right. And that dude, it wasn't long after the Delphi case broke that Chadwell was picked up for kidnapping that 9-year-old girl and chaining her up in his basement. So I imagine it all connects, man. If it don't, it's the most freakiest case, right? I remember in the beginning of this case, the sheriff was a suspect. The sheriff was a suspect. People were claiming that it was the sheriff of Delphi that was walking down the bridge. That's how crazy this case was. And it was these YouTubers that were manipulating photos, folks, on you folks. They were manipulating photos. I seen one photo and it looked like there was 5 faces within it. Now either this person was, whoever this person was that good that said this is the guy that did it, but there was 5 more people behind it. And now it kind of makes sense, does it? I don't know. They've created such a mystery. And then you have Sheriff Carter in a press release admitting that there was numerous voices on the recording other than Abby Libby's. So does it make sense that there was a bunch of people involved in this? Kitty ring, whatever. I could tell you this much. I find it hard that the Odins would do something like this to children and then leave evidence that points directly to them. That just don't make sense. Maybe possibly this person was involved in it, but wasn't one of them. Or maybe, I don't know. It's crazy. I guess the group has been taken over by white nationalists. That's even more scary, right? Is that what these people are doing, sacrificing their children? I'd say we got this proves all of my theories, how we still live in medieval times, how these people still worship evil stuff and sacrifice people. If we were sitting on the button to the most powerful weapons in the world and them saying, is this proof enough that the world is gone cuckoo? We need to clean it. I don't know. I'd have to step away. I'd have to flip the button down and say, I got to think about it. This is nuts. We're still living in medieval times. And here's the real sick thing is I've been checking up on this Odinism, and all they are is wilderness worshipers. They worship trees and the wilderness. No sacrificing, right? Just tree huggers. I don't know, right? Plus, Odins are a mythical fairy tale that was told, Vikings, right? And all it takes is a couple idiots to make something that's harmless into something that's very evil. Does that make sense to anybody? I don't know. We've seen so much in this case. Nobody believes anything. What I'm reading with the Odin files, it looks like one of my old scripts that someone probably hacked out of my computer. I knew something was up when they brought up Elvis. I was like, wow, come on. Are you kidding me? Elvis. Dreaming like a fool. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then Johnny, right? Well, Johnny, even I was like, this is one of these idiots went and told somebody that. And that's why we didn't hear anything about that. Probably, I don't know. It's probably stolen document. It's probably a snipe chase that one of these dudes that were being investigated in the case or questioned came up with some crazy story. It was these Odin dudes. And when they were being questioned themselves, probably for this case, Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Do we believe this Anthony Greeno guy, though, that's claiming that he was set up in the floral fires, or they were trying to set him up in the floral fires and took his DNA and the corrupt police and all this? And the Odins are within the police force and the prison gangs. Oh, this is what a director or a screen producer writer dreams of. Just a story that is so unbelievable, crazy, that it'll make billions. This is just completely crazy. We know this. It's going to bring big money. And it probably will. Or if one of these idiots make a movie about it or something, probably. But I think there was nothing to this Odin thing. I think it was these people. It was more than one. And they made it. One of these sickos might have been into Odinism or symbols or whatever and tried to make it to look like it was something that it's not. Trying to divert you folks away from the truth, right? Maybe it was the girlfriend's father or boyfriend's. One of these girls was dating. Now, you folks know she was only 13. At the time of this murder, she was only 13. And she was already dating. And now they're saying it was the father of the boy that she was dating that did this, that he's an Odin. And I was like, yeah, maybe he is an Odin. But do you think, is that guy that stupid, that crazy to leave symbols of Odin so they look directly at him? And then 4 years later, 4 or 5 years later, the guy posts photos of stuff that was similar. There's rumors out there that that guy already knew about the rumors of how the girls were killed, and he did it deliberately because people blamed him. And he got investigated and was found that they didn't have anything to do with it. He was an Odinist, but he didn't do the killings. So I don't know. It's catch 22. Maybe Richard Allen was an Odinist. Maybe this whole story was made up. And that's actually not how the girls died at all. Just because prosecution writes it, they might themselves be grasping for anything to try and prove that their client, one of the killers, well, the government, the police got one of the killers. There might be more. I don't know. It is crazy. I can tell you this much. As soon as I started reading that documentation and it said they picked up Elvis, I was on the ground laughing. I'm like, wait a minute. And then it went on, and it was then they brought up Johnny and Brad and all these guys. I was like, this is this is ridiculous, folks. This is ridiculous. And it is true. We didn't hear anything about any of this Odin files throughout any of this case until probably 5, 6 years ago, or just recently, a year ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. A couple of these YouTubers started pushing Odin's, the great Odin. And then there was that dude in Canada that was battling with Anthony Greeno, claiming Anthony Greeno knew about the Odins. And Anthony Greeno said, yeah, he knew something about the Odins or some club. I thought it was a biker gang they were talking about, man. That's what I thought it was. I've heard of the Odin biker club. I wasn't sure because these guys were saying they belonged to motorcycle clubs, right? So that's probably why we didn't pay any attention to it too much because the police investigated it and they're like, no, we don't think it's these wilderness people that are. Could they be that stupid to lead the police directly to their organization? I mean, how stupid are people these days? They must be stupid. They're sacrificing little girls. If it was a sacrifice. Very interesting. Very, very interesting, folks. Debbie, what do you think? I think the police got it right. They tracked it down where the rumors, where the fake photos, and all this crap was coming from. It was a YouTuber. It was a couple YouTubers, I believe. And I think the police are on the right track, right? These guys even claim to know me. I've never met Anthony Greeno in my life. I've never met Sean H. or Sean Harmon. We don't even want to mention his name. It's like evil happens. I've never met any of these YouTubers in real life, but yet they claim they knew me. And I was like, no, I don't know it. Because you came into my chat and I told you I wasn't buying your story, everyone claims they know me personally. I'm like, I've never met these people in my life. Not once. Not once. Actually, they were stealing my content. They were actually stealing my skits. Blaming me. Yeah, I would say there's a lawsuit. Yeah. Yeah. I never met Sean Harmon or Anthony Greeno. They wouldn't even be able to get 50 feet around me, folks. They wouldn't even be able to get 50 feet around me. They wouldn't even be able to make it into this town without me knowing. I don't know them folks. Never met them in my life. I disagreed with their videos and called it all a bunch of crap. Only the killers would have known what happened. But yet these guys knew what happened at the crime scene 4 years ago. Longer than that, actually. How did they know that? Or 3 years ago it was? How did they know that crap? They were their own downfall. They made videos claiming they knew exactly what happened. Well, how can you know exactly what happened? You know, Anthony Greeno claims that the reason he solved this case was because he knew all the guys that were involved. He investigated them all. He knew them all. How do you know all these dudes? And you're coming out claiming you know these dudes and they killed women down there and two little girls? This is unbelievable. This itself is a movie. Hell, Harmon claimed he knew me. I was like, dude, I have no idea who you are. You came into my chat one day because I was doing a video on you saying you were full of shit. He claimed that it was the polygamist group. It was his dad. It was a biker club. It was the Mexican mafia. It was the syndicate. That's what Sean Harmon was saying. Greeno too at that time. They were working together. I knew there was numerous YouTubers. Yeah, they tried to put hits on me and everything. Bunch of idiots. It is ridiculous. All because I didn't buy their story. Remind you, I was in the Delphi case a year after it happened. I started doing videos on it. Hell, it was all over the news here. When that first broke, it was all over the news. Delphi girls missing. Didn't went out to the bridge and was supposed to be picked up at 5 o'clock, and they never were. They never made it. They never. They weren't there. Even the father, the grandfather, looked all around there and didn't find the girls. We got their asses. Bunch of lying pricks. That's what they were. The folks, they got caught and they tried to take down anyone they could with them that was innocent and had nothing to do with it, all because we didn't buy their story or their documentary. Them themselves that were making these YouTube videos were wanted for crimes and questioning in the Floral fires and Delphi. Do I have to? Do I got to do it? Do I have to come down and run the court? I got to do everything in this country. Biden. I'm out of here. Trump, uh, Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy. Let me know if you win. I'll come back. But I got to do everything around here. Now, see, do I know any of this is real? No. I'm doing exactly what these YouTubers did. I am creating something out of nothing. Improvising, compromising, improvising. Now, I could be like the rest of these YouTubers and just come up with my own theory and leave it at that, which I have. I've done numerous videos on Delphi. It didn't pan out in the beginning. Do I think it was one guy that could have done all this? Yes, but it had to have been pre-planned. He would have had to have been strong to get the women out of there, because you have to remember that place was storming by 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. That place was storming with search teams, and it was on the news. There was people all over, four-wheelers, hillbillies out there. Oh, well, I got my four-wheeler and 4 dogs out here. Four-wheelers driving all around out there, and they were even set up over there by the cemetery. And that's where the girls were found. And they weren't there that night. Explain it. Explain it to me, and I'll tell you, you guys are all right. You guys are the greatest investigators everywhere, and you should be working for Kramer Enterprise, or at least the United States government. But it didn't happen that way. And I seen a couple dudes on Anthony Greeno's channel a couple nights ago, and they came right out on his channel and told him, Anthony, it did not happen that way, right? It's possible, but that's just not the way it happened. I have to give Anthony Greeno credit. He's headstrong. When he's got something in his mind, he goes with it, and he don't give a crap what anyone says. Kudos to that kid. But here's the thing, the same kid that's trying to tell us that he knows exactly what happened at the case is the same kid that they picked up numerous times, and on his own channel and video, he said they were trying, they nabbed him, or they're trying to pinch him on they did pinch him on the floor fires, and he did a year. Now, I don't know if he's telling the truth, but that's what he said. He also said that they asked for his DNA and they questioned him. All right. So we, the people, the viewers, the subs, the couch potato investigators, I'm kind of shocked when he said that because we had no clue that he was either being pinched for the floral fires or set up. We didn't even know they asked for his DNA. We knew he was questioned in the Delphi case because Anthony Greeno claimed that the killer called him. That's why the police took his phone from him a year into the case. Now, I'll remind you, it takes a lot of time to get a lot of data from people's phones. So, 12 days after these murders occurred, Keegan Kline was picked up, and so was his phones and his computers and all the iPads that he sold to people because he was in the business of selling drugs, and people wagered with him, I guess, with phones and jewelry and computers and stuff like that for drugs, probably. And here's the thing that I keep bringing up to people is they did retrieve them iPads from or computers or phones that Keegan Kline sold to people, and they did take the data off of them. And there was reports that people did say they did get their merchandise back after they took the data off of it. But yet Greeno was very upset on his video, saying that they refused to give him his phone back. There was a reason for that. Now, I don't understand what you folks can't understand. If this was all a lie and it was all a movie, then these folks should have said something, right? What do I think? I think these folks are proven drug users, delusional drugs, meth, prescription pills. I got a theory that maybe old Richard Allen might have been also a dealer with pills, being that he worked at CVS in the pill department. I mean, I don't know, right? I'm telling you what, I'm getting sick and tired of crime and solving all this stuff. Now I'm starting to sound like these idiots on YouTube. I solved the case. Greeno claims he solved it. That's what he said on his videos. He practically solved the case because he knew these guys and he was investigating these guys. And he practically solved the case. But Anthony Greeno's got problems, folks. He's got a disability. I was like that when I was real bad with my uh, disability. I was like that. Medication. You got to stay on medication, and you have to train your brain that things are not right. You have a disability, unless you, a mental illness is very, very difficult to deal with. You're always questioning yourself. You're always questioning yourself. So you got to work on that, Mr. Greeno. I think he does need help. I'll pray for the kid. Hey, Sean Harmon was even trying to kill me, right? I prayed for him, right? I forgave him. Total nut job, total cuckoo. Everything he said was a lie, except for the way that the girls were, sticks were poked in them, carved or whatever. That part was true, but Sean Harmon sang a different story. It was real gory that the girls were penetrated with sticks, that their fingers were chopped off, that there was carving in the bodies, and in the trees that there was carvings. Uh, that one of the girls were pregnant, and it was his kid, and it was this, I don't know, it was mad. But maybe it was this guy that was an Odin. It don't mean the whole organization of Odins or this wilderness worship that these people do are guilty. It might have been somebody that was an Odin, but it didn't. It didn't. It did. It don't mean that the whole organization it was. It might have been just one psycho loony that was one of their members and did this. Possibly, yes, yes. Them guys might have been right, but my question is, how did they have that information when the police didn't release it? That's my big question. Years ago, they had this information. Hold on, I got to refill my tea. Excuse me, folks, I got to make some more tea. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. It could have been somebody that was a note in this. Like I said, but that don't make the whole organization bad. Uh, I think the police were led on a wild goose chase from a couple of these YouTubers, and finally Sheriff Carter caught onto it, and the government caught onto it, and that's why these guys were picked up. Right? It backfired at the old Warriors technique. You remember the movie Warriors? Blame it on someone else. It was the Warriors that killed Cyrus. I think that's exactly what we're looking at here. I'm telling you, I was on the ground laughing my butt off when I started reading that Elvis was involved. I'm like, and Elvis was, I'm like, and then when they threw Johnny in there, I was like, this is going to be hilarious. Oh, it was hilarious. I think that's what they did. They tried to take a clip out of Johnny Kramer's movie and say it was the ode. And because I've been doing folks, I've been on Facebook for a long time. I was doing the Zakk Wylde thing. For a while, I was uh, a fan of Zakk Wylde's. You know, I even had his guitar, the Bullseye one and everything. But Zakk Wylde came out with a line of guitars, and one of the line of guitars is called the Odin. So, and I think Zakk Wylde is hilarious when he dresses up like a Viking. And he does his coffee commercial shit. The Great Odin. I'm on the ground laughing my ass off. And when I started reading that report, the Odin files, they're calling it out. I can't, I'm on the ground. They're calling it out the Odin files. was a couple of these YouTube idiots that have been watching my channel for a long time, even taking my content, trying to hack my computer. And I bet you they came up with this story and told these cops that story. And I imagine that's why that one sheriff was laughing his ass off on TV down there when we were looking for that escaped convict. And people were asking the sheriff, did you hear about the vigilantes that are in Indiana? And the sheriff was, yes, we heard about the vigilantes. Oh my God. I can't. This is hilarious. This would be great. Oh God. No, once again, it's horrible. It's horrible what happened to them two girls out there. I don't think it should be any place for a memorabilia. And you know what, folks? It's funny. These a couple of these YouTubers cannot let it go. They're so far, they were so deep into this case that it was fishy. To me, it was fishy. And when listen, I went into Sean Harmon's channel and I told him to turn himself in. I even went into Anthony Greeno's channel and told him to turn himself in. I went into a lot of people's channels and told them years and years ago. I didn't buy their story. Hell, I think that documentary that Anthony Greeno did, claiming that it was some guy that his family, it was the story of Anthony Greeno's family and his uncle. That guy you're listening to, that's supposedly Greeno's uncle, I believe to be Sean Harmon's voice. Before Sean Harmon lost all his teeth, Sean Harmon was from that area, or up here somewhere in Indiana, I'm not sure. I give the kid kudos if he did solve the case. I don't think he did, though, folks. I just don't think he did. And these people attacked me. As soon as they hear this, as soon as they start reading this, Elvis Presley, I was on the some of these big time YouTubers tonight we're reading the Odin files. and the police picked up Elvis. Is this right? That's what's some of these big time crime people. Is this right? Are you kidding me? Elvis? That's what it says. Elvis. And then they read down a little bit, and then they picked up Johnny Dayton or whatever. Johnny Dayton? Who is this? Oh my God. Hilarious. That is hilarious. To see some of these professional crime people open up the file. Here we are. We're going to do a video. We're going to read this. I haven't read it yet. We're going to break right into this. Now, 3 lines into that, everybody is on the ground in the chat. Elvis? That's what it said. They're like, are you sure this ain't a joke? That's what a couple of these YouTubers said. No, this is the real file. The Odin files. That's some shit there, man. That is funny. You know what's even funnier? I seen Gray Hughes. I seen Gray Hughes on Court TV. Court TV's been big into this. I've been watching Court TV. Court TV was interviewing Hugh. What's his name? I just said his name. I forget it now. But anyways, they were interviewing him. This is a big YouTuber. He's down and he lives in Delphi supposedly. He was even a suspect in the crime. Can you explain this? I forget the guy's name. I just said his name and I forget it. It just popped out of my mind. I seen him on crime. I seen him on Crime Court or Court TV today on YouTube, and they were interviewing him, and they asked him, "What do you think of this?" Gray Hughes, that's the guy's name, Gray Hughes, and he came out and he said, when I started reading this, I really couldn't. Elvis, he said the same thing. He's like, it seems like it's a script, and not a very good one. He said that was a lot of details were left out, right? Which I agree with him. I would have liked to seen more details in that report, being what kind of a lot of people were saying the girls were hung upside down, and I was in a chat and I was telling people, yeah, but the report ain't saying that. See, the report would say that the girls were hung up upside down because we have proof of that, because bruising around the ankles. If you hang someone upside down, you're going to hang them by the ankles, right? But there was no ligature marks on the girls that they were ever hung. And the reason people are saying they were hung upside down, like Dare, is because there was, at the crime scene, there was no massive amounts of blood that was matching the wounds on the girls. So a lot of people are thinking they were hung upside down, bled into a bucket or a trough, and the blood was used. I mean, I've heard some crazy rumors going around, but the evidence would have shown that. But this is defense's report that they put out. They can put out, the sky is falling tomorrow. I don't think people understand. They can put out anything because they're trying to get their client off of a double murder. Maybe more. Was Richard Allen a serial killer? But I'm just saying, I found it hilarious to see some of these big dog YouTube channels start reading the Odin files. And within the third paragraph, they're questioning Elvis. And you can see people in chat going, who the heck names their kids Elvis? I'm sorry, folks. I'm drinking my tea. But we knew from the word go that some of these stories that these YouTubers were talking, only the killers would have known, or people involved, or a leaker. Only a leaker would have known, or or somebody that was involved with the case would have known anything about the sticks, anything about none. Here is the thing. Here is the thing. The police did handle this case wrong. And let me explain to you why. When the police were first called and they came out there to set up the search for the girls, they should have not allowed public search teams to go out there. They should have quarantined the area down, and they should have waited for nothing but professional search teams from the police department. They did not do that. Within a half an hour of the girls missing, people were being called, friends and family, to come out there and look for the girls. So there was people already out there way before the police got there. I don't think the police showed up until like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And they said there was nothing they could do because they had to wait for 72 hours because they were, I guess there's some, at that time there was some law in Indiana, or they had to wait 48 hours or something to make sure the kids weren't running away or whatever. But the parents insisted that they dropped them off there. They were supposed to be picked up there, and they're missing. So the police did get involved. But that whole place should have been quarantined, locked down. Everyone should have been pushed out, and they should have brought in real search teams that would have kept their mouth shut about the case. But this case was tainted within a year. This case was already tainted because there was rumors about that the girls were found penetrated by sticks, that the sticks were involved, placed different ways or whatever. There was carvings or symbols or whatever. And that was never released by authority. And the police did come out and say that. Don't believe it unless we say it. And they, at that time, they didn't say that. These guys, these YouTubers, I think, shot themselves in the foot. Let me see what my chat has to say. I'm sorry, I think it's funny, but there's other people that think it's funny too, because I went into some big channels to read this report, right? I was myself, I wanted to hear, but as soon as the third paragraph they got done, I was like, this don't sound right. And then it got into Elvis, and everyone was like, repeat that again, Elvis. And everyone broke into, they were like, Elvis, who that? Elvis is dead. Right? Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe he's still alive, folks. I'm starting to believe the whole thing was a setup. That's what I'm thinking. And maybe even some police were involved in it. But it's gone past that, right? This has gone past cuckoo with this case. I mean, it's gone past cuckoo. You know what? Dog Lady never came forward. A witness, she never came forward. Flannel Guy never came forward. These were witnesses, but at the same time, suspects. Right? You had Dog Lady that was walking her dog, that in the beginning of this case was a witness. But then again, a couple years down the road, Dog Lady actually could have been the girl, the lady that was heard on the recording, and actually was part of it. Maybe. Maybe Flannel Guy, that supposedly was part of this, he never came forward. The witnesses never came forward. They still haven't released. Who were these witnesses? They still haven't released that. And this is what I'm saying with another theory that I'm working on, is if you have the right people in the right spot at the right time in a case like this, you can actually divert the police away from the truth. And I think that's what we're starting to see with some of these idiots. And who got all this information? A YouTuber, a young kid, a troubled kid, Anthony Greeno, and Sean Harmon, right? But in the beginning, it was just Anthony Greeno. Right? Which Sean Harmon claims that Anthony Greeno used Sean Harmon. Right? I've seen that video where Sean Harmon was claiming Anthony Greeno used him for something. I don't know. I mean, this was unbelievable, and people were pissed because I went into their chats and told them to turn themselves in. Hear everyone saying they're wanted, and none of their people were saying turn yourselves in. Right? They were helping them try to evade the police. Now, could we go after these people for evading and abetting when they were wanted? Well, ancient scientists, law keepers say yes. Nah, he's still alive. They claim he's dead. You know, folks, we've seen these people die 3 or 4 times on YouTube. Right? That whole skit that Sean Harmon did with his bloody nose. If you folks ever watched his channel, that whole skit, that his bloody nose packed with cotton, and he did a video, came from my video when I did a skit for Dave Levine that I took 2 in the arm for Dave Levine, and I went on camera and I did a movie skit. No joke, this is the truth. And I bandaged my arm up and used ketchup, and I was sitting here and I showed people my arm, and it was ketchup was running down it in blood. And I said, that son of a bitch, Levine, I took 2 in the arm for him. A couple days later, Sean Harmon did his nose bleed that he was beat up. And it was a lie. At the end of the skit, he pulled the cotton balls out of his nose and said, I got you guys. He was a nut job. He's been watching my channel for a long time. He was a stalker, a nut job, crazy. Right? That is the truth. That dude was in my chat. I got very pissed off because he was attacking people in my chat because I didn't buy his story. I even let the guy do it. I even let that guy come into my chat and explain his story. He did 50 times the same thing. And finally I said, you got to go, dude. And he got pissed. He said, I'm out of here. He got pissed. And then I had other people come in and start trouble with him from another channel, and they lied to me. And then a war between Sean Harmon and that guy broke out in my chat. I was like, this is unbelievable. Get out of my chat, everybody. There was another person with talent, but he wasted it with drugs and doing bad things. That guy was so crazy, he confessed to sleeping with his cousins when he was younger, his 2 young cousins. And he acted like that's normal, right? He was so crazy, he just came up with crazy stuff, man. I was like, this dude is completely nuts. But drugs will do that to you. Drugs will do that to you. Right? Did I know them personally? No. Have I ever talked to them personally on the phone or behind seat? No. No. Greeno messaged me one time. Uh, and I told him, stop messaging me, dude. You're stalking me. Harmon, the only time I talked to him was when he came into my chat. I asked him to explain his story. He explained in this chat, in my chat, that it was his dad that did it because his dad's or his son got the girls pregnant or got one of the girls pregnant, and his son killed the two girls. Right? That was the story Sean was saying, but Sean might have got that story from a skit I was doing. I talk a lot about secret organizations and stuff like that. I don't know, them dudes they were crazy, nut jobs. I still tell them today, turn yourselves in. A lot of people say Sean Harmon died. I don't know, prove it. Prove it to me. These guys have said they died numerous times, and all they do is open up another channel. Sean's looking over us. He's keeping everybody safe. Well, good for him. God bless. Hopefully he made it to the right side, but I didn't know the dude. I know he watched my channel a lot, but I didn't know him. And I had no idea that he was a heroin addict. I had no idea that him himself was a suspect until he went on camera and started talking about it. And then I started watching him. Because if you're going to be in the crime community and people are being accused of things, you want to keep an eye on them people, right? To see if it's true what they're saying, to see if they slip up and make a mistake, which we did catch Sean Harmon in many, many mistakes that he made. And now it seems like they're starting to catch Joe Greeno in a lot of the mistakes he made. We know they've caught Keegan Kline and some of the mistakes he made, and so many more. Just misunderstood. Now, maybe he was misunderstood. I never met the dude. I didn't do anything to the dude. Uh, he had a drug problem. He had a lot of problems. And like I said, I even prayed for him. And when someone came into my chat and said he died, I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that. God forgive him and may he rest, his soul rest. I didn't have no real beef with these idiots. The only thing they were pissed at is I was putting holes in their stories, right? Like a prosecutor, right? I was poking holes in their stories. I shouldn't have went into their chats and questioned them. What about this? What about that? Remember last week when you said this, you said that, right? Um, I don't know. I had no idea that they took Greeno's DNA. We knew that he took his phone. He did say that. And that he wouldn't get his phone. And he was questioned in the Delphi murders. We had no idea about the Florida fires, that he was being pinched or set up for it or whatever. He claimed he did a year, but now people are saying he did a year for child support. But why would Anthony Greeno say that in the same sentence? Right? Why would he say that? I don't know. He's probably stressed. He's probably stressed out or something. You're probably coming down on him, man. I wonder if he did give him his DNA. If he gave him his DNA, well, then that probably explains what's going on. Here's another thing that's shocking in the Delphi case is Michael Catt, which I was shocked that he came forward and said he was questioned in the Delphi case. Here's my question, folks. Were these dudes so crazy to actually orchestrate this and then pop up on YouTube as they are the ones that are investigating it and they're this and they're that, trying to fool the people? Let's see how crazy we really can get, which there's already a movie out about this that was done years ago. We're actually the killers. We're actually the people that were trying to solve it. And we've seen this in big business where somebody that is working for the business creates a massive breakdown. No one can figure out what's going on. And then all of a sudden, this one employee says, I can fix this, and fixes the whole thing. Well, it was only the person that created the problem that would have been able to fix the problem. Do you think, I'm going to ask my mod, I'm going to ask Paige Turner too, do you think these people were that crazy to try and pull off something like that, where they orchestrated it, but being that they were known on YouTube as whether they be actors in a club, a producer, whatever it may be, a reporter? Now, I'm just asking you folks, do you think that it's possible that the killer could actually have been the people that were investigating it? The people that were involved in it were actually the people on YouTube, not real investigators, but on YouTube, claiming that they were investigating it. Go on, answer. Anybody? Does anyone watch? I think we got exactly what we're looking for, and the people, I think we're on the right track with the people that we were looking at. I just don't know, Johnny. No one's going to know. These are, of course, only my theories and my thoughts. No, I do know for a fact that Sean Harmon was stealing my content a long time ago. I know Greeno watches my stuff all the time. They even said it in my chat. But personally, I don't know these guys. I've never met them. And that's the honest goodness truth. That whole thing of Sean Harmon's was some of my stuff. Now you're gonna have to expect that, right? And once again, I had no beef with Sean Harmon. He just didn't like me because I just didn't buy his stuff, man. I didn't buy the story he was throwing. I didn't buy. He thought it was acting. He thought, and I was like, just turn yourself in, man. This is a double homicide of two girls, and it was almost like a joke to him. And he knew way too much. He knew way too much in that case. And we didn't see Sean Harmon until 4 years into the case, and then he popped up. Then he popped up. I think Anthony Greeno was talking about him or something, and then he popped up. He started doing videos or something. But I think, honestly, Greeno and Sean Harmon knew each other for a long time, because I do believe, with the voice that I'm hearing in that documentary, uh, that was supposed to be Anthony Greeno's uncle, was Sean Harmon. Well, I don't know. I hope the kid gets some help. I hope he gets some legal help. I hope he gets mental help. Same thing with Sean Harmon, if he's alive. Get some help.